Welcome to Menopause Monday. Today I'm talking about menopause, mood swings and mental health. So firstly, I think if you're listening to this and you're absolutely desperate about how you're feeling as though you've got early dementia, you're feeling stressed, you've got those volcanic eruptions, just sort of mood disorders, know that it is your hormones and it's not you specifically. I talk to a vast range of ladies who have gone through perimenopause and the menopause, me included, and we all show different symptoms to varying degrees. And today I'm actually going to talk about what might mean that you are struggling more with the mood side of things, and also ways to help you overcome that, with also some important numbers that you can call if you feel in desperate need at any time of the night or day. They are UK numbers. I wouldn't want to advise for a country outside of my remit, but you can Google crisis line numbers for your particular country if you're listening to this out of the UK. And so, yes, I mean, this is a discombobulating phase of life. There's a lot of upheaval during perimenopause and menopause. Essentially what happens during perimenopause, it's almost like having bad PMS, but 10 times worse bad PMS. It's when your body is going through a range of different changes, your hormones are very unstable. And so that's why some days you can feel fine and other days you might feel elated and other days you can just feel so down in the dumps. Or it might even be that, you know, 1 minute you're feeling happy and then the next minute you're feeling so angry and resentful and frustrated, and you have absolutely no idea why you're feeling like this. I know for me, I thought, oh my gosh, I can't think clearly. That's one of the major symptoms of perimenopause. I think a lot of people think, oh, we've got hot flushes, it means you're perimenopausal. It's not just about hot flushes. There's a myriad, there's a wide range of symptoms that you can experience. You might not experience them all. You might have some more severely than others. This is a real phase of your life where you have to give yourself grace and also appreciate that we're all different. I talk to some people who, you know, if you took like the COVID booster, for instance, or the COVID vaccine, and there's almost like this crowd, this is like, I don't have any symptoms at all, which means that they're tough and we're not. There is no rhyme nor reason to it. Some people will suffer with various symptoms more. Some people will react to the booster more. You know, we're all different, and none of it means that you're stronger or weaker. It's just a different way of experiencing things. Now, there is evidence to show, so the clinical trials have shown that although there isn't necessarily a link between menopause and depression. I really want to talk about sort of like the heavy duty stuff here today as well, not just sort of the more simplistic, holistic approaches, although I will cover that. But I think it's really important to cover the heavier stuff as well, because there's a lot of people out there struggling. And if that is you, don't struggle alone. There is help out there. There's people like me. There's a lot of people like me sharing about our menopause journey. I'm also a psychotherapist. I specialize in anxiety, but there's a wide range of people out there all here to support you through your torrid journey through the perimenopause. One of the best things I can suggest for anyone is to talk about it. I will go on to that in more detail, but first and foremost, I want to cover the sort of the way the clinical trials are indicating. So, for instance, if you struggle with bipolar disorder, when you're going through the perimenopause, because of the way our estrogen and our hormones, but specifically estrogen, are fluctuating, it can make your depressive cycles more often than your manic cycles or your happier cycles. And so just be aware of that. If you have bipolar and you're feeling like you're staying down in that depressive phase more often, that is highly likely to be related to your estrogen levels falling more quickly during the perimenopausal years. Also, schizophrenia. Now, schizophrenia normally is detected during sort of young adult years, but there is also evidence to show that it can also be onset during menopause. So if you're suddenly being dogged with voices in your head, or you think you're seeing things, or you feel like you're just not yourself, you feel like you've lost that control, you've got that fizz going under the surface all the time, is you're hearing voices, you really must talk to your mental health provider. You'll maybe talk to your doctor first and foremost, but get help about that, because it could be that you need medication to help you through that. It's not something that you can ignore. It's something that you do need to pay special attention to. While there is no clinical trial to suggest that menopause can set off depression, if you have had postpartum depression, if you've struggled with depression in the past, you can be more at risk of depression hitting again during those menopausal years. So again, if you've got those dark thoughts coming back on, if you feel, you've got prolonged episodes of depression, you sort of lost the excitement of life, you've got serious cognitive impairment, so you can't think clearly, you're all kerfuddled in your brain, and it's over a long period of time, if you're just getting that feeling of hopelessness, talk to somebody about that, because again, there are medications that can help you to get through this phase of your life. And it's not being weak, it's being strong. When you ask for help, absolutely, that is being incredibly strong, because you're taking control of your circumstances. And if you're not able to get yourself, if you can't clamber your way out of that rut or that pit, you need help to do it. So make sure if you've got any of those symptoms, the long-term sadness, the long-term frustration, the long-term cognitive impairment, you've got the schizophrenic type problems, go and get help, because it's beyond just exercising, it's beyond just healthy eating, it's beyond just meditation. Having said that, if you are under the care of a mental health provider, those things are also going to seriously help you. And I'm sure you'll be advised about how you can go about getting started with something like that. But firstly, I just wanted to share with you that if you're really in that rut, you need to go and get professional help. Now, you could also talk to a therapist. Acceptance is as simple and as crazy as it sounds. Acceptance of menopause, once you've got the chemical imbalances, or once you've got the treatment to help you get onto more of a steady level, then to accept the fact that we're actually going through menopause takes a lot of that resistance away. There's a lot of energy around, oh, there's menopause and I'm feeling out of my mind, and everything's changing, I'm angry, I've got hot flushes, I'm putting on weight, I don't recognize myself anymore, the frustration that goes along with that. When we accept it's a phase of our life, I don't know about you, but for me it made a massive difference. It was just like, okay, yeah, this is a phase of my life, and actually I feel incredibly grateful that I've got here to this stage of my life. We've lost so many along the way that never managed to make menopause, and I'm here and I've got it. And it's just, I feel incredibly grateful that I've lived long enough to actually experience it. I am lucky in the fact that I haven't had a serious problem with my menopause, but then I've taken steps also to make sure that I've minimized the symptoms of menopause. I'll share those with you. I never really struggled seriously with PMS either, so I'm not in that category of people who have had terrible PMS problems in their youth. But I do work with a lot of people that have, and by taking a few healthy lifestyle measures and also working on how you view yourself within menopause makes a big difference to how you actually experience it. I was talking about pain the other day, and the pain of childbirth is agony, but because you're going to get your baby, it's like a positive pain in a way. But the pain of having like a limb removed is a totally different type of pain, because it's something taking away from you. Your entire life is going to have to adjust. Well, it does with the baby too, of course, but that's there's a positive and there's a negative aspect to the pain. The pain is still the same. We're still in a lot of pain, but how we perceive the pain is entirely different. And when we can perceive menopause in a more healthy way, or in a more positive way, probably positive is the better word, it changes how we experience it. It doesn't necessarily get rid of all the symptoms, but it just changes how we perceive those symptoms as happening to us. So I think it's really important to understand that through menopause, we're also going through a lot of different life changes. Our identity is changing. We're brought up in a society that values youth. And all of a sudden, you're this middle-aged woman who, we can see we're getting older. We might be feeling older. How we view ourselves changes. What you wear might change. How you categorize yourself within society changes. And to that, I would say, well, yes, it does change. And I think society is always probably going to value youth over age and wisdom. But we are wiser. We're older. We're wiser. We do have that knowledge. We can look at the younger people and think how great it is that they've got that energy, because we had that once too. But we also have the wisdom, and we have the hopefully the grace to grow older, and to really embrace that wisdom, and to build upon that wisdom, and to sort of almost be the matriarch rather than the up and coming whippersnapper, as it were. We might be caring for elderly parents, and that can put an enormous toll, not on just your energetic resources, but your financial resources. Care costs an awful lot, and I know people it's pretty much bankrupted them. And I'm not going to get into the sort of the wheres and whys and should we or shouldn't we of I'm not even going to go down that road. Nope, stop, backtrack. But care is an incredibly costly thing, and as a middle-aged woman going through the menopause, you may have career changes yourself. You may have been looking after your kids all this time and want to find something that works better for you. And if that's the case, you might be really struggling to find something that aligns with the skill set that you've got. I have so many ladies that I know who they are so well educated. They've got so many skills, and yet they cannot get a half decent job. It's really, really hard. And we sort of need to reevaluate our life's expectations. I think we go through that process of, where are we now? We're halfway through our lives, possibly we're beyond halfway through our lives. And that does have an implication as to how we see ourselves. It's just like, oh my God, my time's running out. Sometimes I catch myself thinking, oh, I've got another sort of 15 years ahead of me to do this, this, and this. And those are big goals. And am I going to achieve them? And, sort of when you're in your 20s, it's not a problem, because you probably got lots and lots of years ahead of you. We are becoming empty nesters. I absolutely adore my kids. They have been my whole purpose for living. And, to become an empty nester, that's a hard thing in and of itself. And yes, if you're facing that in the next year or so, it does get easier. It's funny how you sort of all slot into your little routines, and it doesn't mean they're gone for good, but it does change the whole dynamics. And it's tough. It really is tough. And, when you're sort of going through the sort of trying to find your own identity through these menopausal years, extra concerns and sadnesses like that can weigh really, really heavily, particularly when your hormones are up and down. You're feeling more emotional, and it's a very, very tough terrain to manage to walk across. I've been there myself, and I know I've got a few people who I'm in touch with at the moment, and they're going through that phase of life, and it is hard. I don't think life is ever meant to be easy, but there are, by looking after yourself, you can create a fence, as it were, around the struggles. And when you're, I see it as two buckets. You have a bucket which has got your struggles in and your difficulties and your worries, and you have a bucket which has got your fun tokens and your more positive things in it. And when your bucket of fun and nice stuff and healthy stuff starts to get fuller than the bucket of the challenges and the negative stuff, you've got the balance right. And we're never going to get rid of life struggles. They're always going to, whatever it is, life just, it's not easy. And I think when our bucket of good stuff weighs heavier than the bucket of negative stuff, we've always got a little bit extra. It's like having a bank account. It's like if we're having a bad time here, we can get a positive resource out of our happy bucket. And that involves looking after ourselves. That involves intentional movement, exercise. We need to move our bodies. It helps to gobble up stress hormones. It energizes our bodies. It keeps our weight healthy. It gives us energy. It makes you feel more confident about yourself. Sleep. I know sleep can be really hard to prioritize during the sort of perimenopausal years, particularly if you get a lot of hot flushes, but you can still probably get to bed earlier than you are doing. If you can cut out alcohol, if you drink alcohol, if you can cut it out or reduce it, that is going to improve your sleep massively. If you can cut out or reduce sugar, again, that's going to have a very significantly positive impact on your menopause, because without going into the sort of science of how the hormones all work, when we eat sugar, we spike our insulin gets spiked in our bodies, and that stresses our bodies. It makes us hang on to belly fat more. It just has a negative impact on so many different aspects of our lives. I know people who've got various tumors, cancers at the moment, and they've cut out sugar, and having been told that their cancer would never get better or it would continue to grow, their cancers are not growing. And yes, they're living a healthier lifestyle too. So some still drink some alcohol, some don't, but it's predominantly the sugar and the processed foods that they've cut out. And it's having such a positive impact on them. And, I think we all know that sugar's not a good thing for us. But if you can significantly reduce it or cut it out, or just take steps towards making one small change a day. So, instead of having like the biscuits, find a healthier substitute that you can nibble instead. Often we eat biscuits because we like the texture, we like the crunch. Try something different. I don't know, maybe it's a carrot stick or a sweet corn stick or a handful of nuts. Maybe a rice cake. I mean, I don't think rice cakes are probably the healthiest, but they're probably healthier than biscuits. So find something that is, maybe a slice of apple with some peanut butter on top, or almond butter on top. That's a healthy snack. It's making my mouth water even just thinking about it. So it's not about making changes altogether, because that's quite stressful for you. There's a lot to take on board, but it's about introducing one healthy habit, replacing a bad habit with a healthy habit. And then when you've got that habit stacked, when you've got that habit clinched, get onto another healthy habit and just build up that way. You'll find it will have a big, big impact on how you feel. And you'll also feel really proud of yourself. I know when I make a positive change, I wake up in the morning just like, yay, I'm winning. And it does make a big difference. And that's going to help build up your self-esteem. I think also it's really important to make time for you, for self-care and also fun. Now, self-care and fun tend to be put into two different categories. I think we think of self-care as meditation and yoga and contemplation and reflection, and it is actually, but also fun is a large part of that. And we all have different ways of having fun. One of the funnest things I do is go swimming in the sea with my sister and her friends in the morning. It's a real challenge. I don't like cold water. It really forces me to overcome that self-limiting belief that I can't get in, because I do, and I love it once I'm in. Really makes you realize what the body is capable of doing. And we have so much fun doing it. You might not be near the sea. You might not want to get near the sea. You might not be able to swim. That's totally fine. But find things that you find fun. It might be watching a funny film. It might be watching comedy. It might be reading a funny book. It might be playing with your dogs. Whatever it is that makes you laugh and really laugh, do more of that, because that's really, really important. It's really also important to have be surrounded by people who support you. Now, That's easier said than done. If the people who are around you, the negative people, if they're their parents, siblings, partner, best friend, it's hard to move ourselves away from those individuals. But when we can add to that circle, so you don't necessarily get rid of them, you can't get rid of them, but you can remove yourself from them to a degree, and you don't have to agree with how they live their lives either. You can have your own opinion on that. But when you are surrounding yourself with other people who have like-minded values to yourself, then it dilutes the effect that the negative people have on you. And there are always going to be negative people out there. I call them energy vampires. They thrive on drama, whether it's your drama, somebody else's drama. If there's not a drama, they'll make it up. There are people out there who would just suck people's energies away, and they get a real kick from doing it. And you need to make sure that you are surrounding yourself with positive stuff to limit the effect that that sort of person will have on you. It might be during, lockdown, and the lack of ability to actually get out and see people is difficult at the moment. But you can still do it by listening to podcasts that are uplifting. You can still do it by reading books that are uplifting, or books that target one of your weaker points. If you struggle with something in particular, read personal development that's going to help you overcome that, whatever that fear, that self-limiting belief might be. Join a community of like-minded souls. That there are so many groups on Facebook. Some of them are better than others. My Fit community, you're welcome into that. You can do free workouts, and you can join our Fit community. We will help you. We will support you. Be among people who are going to whose values align with yours, and who are going to help to support you and lift you up. When you've got that bit sorted out of the equation, the others are much easier to deal with, because when your self-esteem is constantly knocked away by those negative people, or your values are brought into question, it really has a negative impact on how you see yourself. And as we're going through the menopause, the perimenopause, I sort of use them interchangeably because they're both pretty. The menopause is actually just one day since you've had the last day of your period. The perimenopause leads up to that one day of menopause, and then thereafter you're postmenopausal. So I'm postmenopausal. But throughout this whole time, and that period can last for about 10 years. Off and on. I think it gets better as you get postmenopausal. I don't have the symptoms like I used to have during perimenopause. However, I did make some big changes in, my nutrition, how I exercised. I used to always exercise, but I changed how I exercise. So now I exercise for a lot less time, and I get much better results. And it's just designed for, the older woman's body, and it makes me feel amazing. I think also sometimes we look at our photos when we might have been in our 20s, and then we look at our bodies now. Our bodies are going to change. Aging happens. We get wrinkly skin. All we can do is support our healthy aging. Eventually, one day, we're all going to die. And, do you want to spend the rest of your life worrying about the day you're going to die before you die, or are you just going to embrace life and make the most of it up until that day? Because I know for sure when I'm dead, I want my kids to know I did the best with my life. I went on the adventures. I did the things I wanted to do. I don't want them to think, oh, I wish mum had had a better life, or I wish mum had fulfilled her dreams or really done what she wanted to do and had more fun. No, I want them to think, yeah, she lived her life well, and I want them to live their lives well. And so we are role models too. So how we're living our life now is going to be mirrored pretty much by how our kids live their lives. It's really important that we're not just setting the stage for ourselves to be healthy in our mind and in our body, but also for our kids to have healthy minds and bodies too. And I think it's really important we bring these children into the world, and it's important that we have that sense of responsibility to be a positive role model for them. And I know it's hard. Life, it's not always, this isn't like this sort of sterile lecture, but have that at the back of your mind, so that what you're doing for you positively will have a positive impact on them. If they see you taking care of yourself, they're going to think, oh yeah, it's important to take care of myself. That's the underlying process with this, is that self-care is incredibly important, whether they're male or female. Obviously, the boys aren't going to go through the menopause, but they might be married to somebody who is going through the menopause. And we want them to understand that it's a phase of life, and that we're actually going to need some time and maybe a bit of space and support from our significant other while we go through that. I think it's really important that you talk to your significant other too. Talking does make a massive, massive difference. It's whether you talk to a qualified therapist, whether you talk to your significant other, whether you've got a supportive best friend, talk to someone, because it does, you can have a laugh, you can share your struggles, and it does seem to just help how you feel. And feelings are an enormous part of going through the menopause. It's not just the physical symptoms that we're getting, it's how we feel. And when we can take care of our feelings, that's incredibly important. And if you can create that protective fence around your feelings, then you're not going to feel as vulnerable as if you don't have that protective fence. So I've sort of gone over the tips, the holistic tips, and the sort of the importance of getting immediate help if you're really, really struggling. I am going to now share the numbers for the UK if you are really, really going through the depths of a crisis, because you do need to get help. Now, firstly, if you or somebody that you are with is in danger of your life, you have to phone 999. Otherwise, if you need to talk to somebody like the Samaritans, they are a free listening service. I have got their number here. 116123 is for the Samaritans. You can also text shout to what's the number, 85258, and they will get, that's a crisis line, they will get back in touch with you. If you're under 19, you can text YM to that same number, so 85258. So either the Samaritans 116123, or text shout to 85258 for the shout crisis line, or you can text YM to 85258 if you're under 19. Also, if you're under 19, you can call Childline. That number is 0800 1111. It will not show up on the phone bill. It won't show as anonymous or anything. It just won't show up. So phone Childline if you're under 19, 0800 1111. If you want to get access to, in fact, what I'll do beneath this video, I will put the link for the NHS mental health crisis lines, so that also leads to a page that gives pretty similar information as to what I've just given to you. So you've got that there in case you've not been able to take those numbers down. The most important thing really is to talk, because when you're going through this, you can feel like you're losing your mind. You can feel like you're starting early dementia. I've spoken to some ladies who say, they were strong enough to say they actually felt suicidal through this phase of their life. And they're amazing, powerful women. They're holding down jobs. They're caring for parents. They're doing the empty nesting. And inside, they've just got this massive, massive struggle on. And on the outside, you wouldn't know it. But inside, it's all going on. And sometimes the pressure gets released. And even though they don't necessarily want to end their lives, they are faced with this situation where they just don't want to continue as they are. And that's when you have to get help. You absolutely have to go and get help. And I've also met very many inspirational women who have gone through awful perimenopause, and now they are living their best lives. They've made those changes. They've started the exercise. They've started eating more healthily. They are making time for self-care. They're filling their positivity bucket. They've found a community of people that supports them and their values. It's really important that you know what your values are. What are your top three values? If I could say to you now, what are your top three values? I know mine is health, integrity, family, or love for my kids. They're my top three, absolute top three. And just finally, understand that how you're feeling is your menopause hormones. It's not you. It's all related to your menopause and the change that you're going through. It is a phase. It will get better. Phone or text those numbers if you're feeling absolutely desperate. Otherwise, find a community that's going to support you, and do, start a few of those things I've suggested in today's video, which are going to support you, help you feel stronger. I know what it's like when you wake up in the morning and you just feel crushed. You wake up and you're already crushed and you've not even got out of bed in the morning yet. How do you manage those days? Take one thing and implement it. It might just be drinking more water. It might be getting out for a walk for 20 minutes a day. It might be cutting down on your sugar. It might be finding a healthy snack instead of the biscuits or the crisps. It might be talking to a friend who can support you and saying, I really need some help. Can you hear? Can you listen? Whatever it is, just start with one thing. And then when you've got that, incorporate newer aspects into that. But focus on that positivity bucket, because you're always going to have some in the negatives. Make sure your positive bucket is fuller. So I hope that helped. If you need help with, like I say, I specialize with anxiety. I do use hypnosis. I think hypnosis is an incredibly powerful tool. It's a very calming tool. It's brilliant because it works on our subconscious mind to help if you're really struggling with anxiety. Obviously, fitness and nutrition, if you want some help on that, and understanding how you can navigate the perimenopause or the menopause healthier, more healthily. If you've plateaued with your fitness, if you're gaining weight and you cannot get rid of it, don't starve yourself. That's one of the worst things you can do. I'm happy to have a free consultation with you. We'll have a chat. I can give you some suggestions. Don't feel that, you've got to get on board and commit to whatever it is. If you want to have that conversation, message me, whichever platform you're watching this on, whether it's YouTube, leave me a comment, or find me on Instagram or Facebook at Kate Hartley UK. It's the same handle for them both. And just send me a message and we can have an informal, no obligation chat and take it from there. So hope this helped. And remember, it's your hormones. It is not you.